You're listening to Brainwork Framework, a business and marketing podcast, brought to you by focus-biz.com.
Business owners, entrepreneurs, and tech startups, are you overlooking one of the most important experiences of the business journey and the buyer's journey? It's the customer experience. With us today is Clare White. She is the CEO of Connected CX, and she wants to give us all the tips and tricks that you need to think about when improving the customer experience. Clare, thanks so much for joining us today. How are you?
I'm really well, Chris. Thanks for having me on the show.
Absolutely. We appreciate it. So first question we'd like to ask is about your entrepreneurial journey. Take us through that starting journey and how that kind of brought you into what you're doing today.
Well, it was not linear, let's say that. I think, like many people, I got an education. I went to university. I had no clue what I was going to do. Who's not been there, right? So I think
Everybody.
if you're born knowing what you want to do and you do it, I am in awe. But I went to university, got my degree in history and English, and then I really didn't have a clue what to do when I left. I went and worked in horse racing, riding horses every day. It was fun. It was also really challenging being a female in a very male-dominated environment. I really learned how to survive and also how to believe in myself and believe I could do something. I really learned a bit of grit then, I think, and a bit of kind of growth mindset that you really had to learn in able to do anything well. And I left horse racing because my parents were kind of going, Claire, we paid for this education. It's time you went and actually did something. I fell into marketing, and my role was always leading teams to deliver an experience for our clients. And our clients typically were people like P&G, Microsoft, Disney, these big blue chip companies who were big marketing powerhouses, if you think about everything that they do today. And I learned a huge amount. I learned what to do well, and I also learned what not to do. I think there were lots of lessons. And I then kind of moved into shopper activation and customer loyalty space, working for a business with major retailers. So my experience had always been kind of retail, blue chip companies, working for a business in leadership roles. And I had thought for years and years about consulting because my number one thing was I want to help people. I know I've got all this experience that I've collated over the past kind of 20, 25 years. And I want to help people, inspire them, and learn from me in terms of what I've gathered over those years. And so I left business only a year ago. I am a new entrepreneur, but I like to think I've always had entrepreneurial spirit in my businesses because I've always been leading business units. And within that, there's a lot of autonomy, and it's kind of you're leading your own mini business. So that's kind of where I am today. And I set up Connected CX, which is all about helping businesses improve their customer experience and also their employee experience, because it's about people, right? So I guess it's been a bit wiggly. It's not been in a straight line. But that's kind of how I've got to where I am today.
That's so exciting. Welcome to the wonderful, crazy experience of entrepreneurship. But it's kind of true that we are all entrepreneurs, not just this last year for yourself, and congratulations, by the way, but we have things of value, our time, our skill set and experience that we exchange for other value with these companies. It's just a different risk factor. But the fact that you were so focused on the customer experience within retail and that past 25 years of experience, it shows that you really care and you know what you're doing and you know what it takes to connect with other humans and people. What are some things that when you go into a new business and you're doing your discovery call, the hot topics that you're trying to focus on first that seem to be the weak link in the business when it comes to the customer experience, or are you just kind of going through their whole process and what it would be like to be a customer? Can you tell me more about that process when you work with businesses?
Yeah, absolutely. So the first discovery call, you mentioned connecting. The discovery call is about connecting. It is about working out whether actually we could work together, whether there is a mutual problem that I can help them solve, and B, mutual kind of values in terms of what we both believe, and also alignment in terms of the outcome that they're looking for. And that is always covered in the first discovery call, because If I identify that actually their problem or challenge that they want to overcome is too significant for me to able to help them, they should be working with probably a huge business that has loads of resource. Because remember, I'm a small business. Then I'll be honest and I'll say, hey, you know what? I know what I can do for you, but I think you need a company that's probably got a bit more resource behind it and can help. But the biggest thing is connecting. It's really building trust in that first call that you have with them. Because if you think about experience, customer experience, employee experience, being in business, it's all about having emotional connections. And I know we don't like to talk too much about emotions in business. It's kind of like a dirty word. We need to be talking more about it, in my opinion. But it really is about that. That is it in the first call.
That's wonderful. That focus on customer experience, it seems like a lot of these mega corporations are the ones who have already won at capitalism are no longer focused on the customer at all. It's more about extracting more wealth and more shareholder value. Companies are no longer innovating or giving the customers what they want. They're screaming, hey, this is what we want, and they're not giving it to them. I feel like this is a huge opportunity for the small and mid-sized business owners today, where you can go in, stress that importance, and say, hey, you could be the next Amazon, the next Facebook, whatever blue chip company you want to be. That may not be their goal, but you could get them there. Is that true?
Absolutely, 100%. And I have actually written a book. And in my book, I do talk quite a lot about the big companies, the companies like Apple and Amazon that started in someone's garage. They started in the garage, two guys, well, Jeff Bezos, I think, was just set up on his own, just selling books. This guy, I mean, obviously they are phenomenally, inspirational individuals in their own right, but they started just like you or I in our garage. I just read today, there's a company called Brewdog. You do have them in the US. They are a brewers. They're a beer company. And the CEO is actually leaving the business. Well, he's stepping back. And he set up the business, just him and his mates in their garage. There's a bit of a theme here. He said it's two humans and a dog set up that business. And 17 years later, many years later, they are in 70 countries. They have shipped over 1 billion cans of beer. So if you think about it, what I kind of help businesses with, not just solving problems with EX and CX, but also having belief that they can. Because I think if small business owners have the belief that they can do something great and they have purpose in what they're trying to do, then they can achieve it.
I love that. And when we talk about the customer experience, I feel like it's almost any touch point that the business has with the customer and vice versa. Everything within the buyer's journey, from how they find out about you, from the branding, what impression do they get of you, and if they actually become a customer, how do we find that balance between removing friction from their experience, but yet still pre-qualifying them? Is there that balance that we can find in customer experience?
You know what? That's a really good question. Because I think the customer journey, essentially every business should have a thorough understanding of the journey that their customers have to go through to do business with them. And that is a fundamental kind of concept around customer experience. If you don't know how someone is finding, or you don't know how their experience goes when they get to checkout, if you're in retail or if you have an e-commerce site, then you don't really know anything about the experience that customer is having with your business. And it's a real balance, because you could get as much feedback as you want from your customers at every single touch point they have with your business. Much of it will be different. Some will be saying, this was excellent. Another bit will be going, well, you know what? This really, really annoyed me today. But it could be they were just in a really bad mood that day. It might not be what was happening in that interaction with your business. It might be it just built on top of a feeling they already had. And I think when you are using data to understand where you need to be focusing on and the friction points you need to be removing in your business, you do need to be looking at trends. You need to be looking at insight across the entire journey. If you're only looking at one tiny element and only factoring in the feedback from a handful of customers, then that really is going to probably be a waste of time, and you're not focusing on the biggest opportunities within your business.
Oh, absolutely. Now, when it comes to the book that you wrote, you mentioned these 6 principles that these business owners should have. Do you mind taking us through those 6 points?
Absolutely. So the book came about because I had seen businesses succeed and businesses fail. And you could have two businesses that were exactly the same on paper. They might have sold the same product. They might have had the same headcount. They might have had the same investment to start with, but one fails and one doesn't. And I was kind of fascinated about what was it that made that happen. When you think about startups today, I think it's something like 90% of startups fail in the first year, and then 70% fail within the first 5 years. And, that's a huge number of startups, people that are putting their money on the line, people that are committed and dedicated and really believe in their products and service. So I kind of wanted to understand why. And I had some ideas myself, but I did a lot of research as well. And I came up with these 6 principles. They cover everything from having purpose. I think we talked about kind of driving for shareholder value, driving for profits, and that being the number one focus. I don't believe it should be. I think if you get up every day and the first conversation you have is, how much money have you made? How much profit have we made? That's not a reason to get up in the morning. That's not going to inspire and make people want to do the best for you as their employer. And there's loads and loads of data to back that up. So the first principle is really the purpose that you have in setting your company up. What is your company about? Why should your employees want to deliver on that purpose? And what values and what vision are you setting up for your business? Because if you think about setting up a framework to scale from, and I think as entrepreneurs, that's what we want to do, isn't it? You want to start off small, but you have ambitions to scale. And so in order to do that, you have to really start thinking about what bones do you need? What structure do you need to have to be able to do that? And so the first thing is definitely purpose, having a vision that all of your employers are aligned upon, or your future employees that can get on board with, is the first one.
That's so important. I feel like the lack of direction and excitement towards seeing your dream or your passion through, when you distill it down, it's, what are we doing here? What are we doing? It's like, why am I here? This is that vision, that purpose, that drive that is going to help motivate the employees and anyone that you interact with, and even your customers too. You want to get buy-in from your customers to say, I support your mission, your journey, what you're doing here, and I want to be a part of that experience. For you, when it comes to, either the businesses that you've worked with already, or you just see them in everyday life, is there one common trait across these businesses where they're just failing in the customer experience sector?
In terms of the purpose and not having a clear purpose, I think there definitely are businesses that they're just not clear and they're a bit lost. And so customers don't really know what they are anymore. So an example we had in the UK, the company that went out of business, well, I think you probably know them, Blockbuster. So if we think back to Blockbuster, huge business, but they ended up just kind of not innovating. They became like almost obsolete. Customers were thinking about, well, what are you now? You were this media business, this company I would go and I would get my entertainment for a Saturday night from. But actually, you're not that anymore. So what are you? And they kind of got very lost in terms of their path and where they were going. And that's a perfect example of a business that hasn't stayed front of mind. They haven't reviewed their purpose, which is, well, we're a media company. We want to give people entertainment. And they had done that for the first, 10 years of their existence, but then they just fell by the wayside because they didn't continually think about what they needed to do next. And it does link very closely with innovation, which is another principle kind of that I think businesses must have. And you continually innovate. You have to surprise and delight your customers in terms of what they expect. So yeah, I think that's just one example, but there's so many. And I think when I work with businesses, one of the first things I do is actually ask their employees how they feel about that company's purpose, vision, and mission. And do they actually even know it? And there's a huge number of employees that don't. And you think, hey, how do you not know what the vision is? You should know, but they don't. And I think this just shows that if leaders really stand by this purpose and vision and make it really clear for their employees, then they're going to have greater engagement. And I'm huge fan of employee experience, It's all about getting them to connect, fulfill their potential, develop them, but feel that they have a purpose aligned to your company's purpose. So it's huge.
Oh, absolutely. Now, when it comes to trying to motivate the team and the employees that you have that are a part of building the business strategy and executing it together, how do we get the buy-in from the other employees to get them on board with the vision, the mission, and the purpose, and encourage them to do better? What can employers do to improve the employee experience?
That's my fourth principle, I think. So employee experience, you got one. Is enhancing the employee experience because your employees have to feel committed and dedicated to a business. They have to feel that they've got a potential to fulfill with your business. They have to feel that you are engaging in them, a unique individual who will contribute to the business because of the skills and strengths that they bring, as opposed to just being a body that does a job that needs to be done. Everyone is individuals, and I talk a lot about having an inclusive culture because when people feel inclusive and when they're working together collaboratively, cross-functionally, so different teams, there aren't silos, but people feel like they are included and part of a team that's going to deliver upon a purpose for a company they believe in, then they are fundamentally going to feel like they want to do their best work and they're going to be engaged. I talk quite a lot about a company called Patagonia. So Patagonia Inc., clothing retailer, so outdoor sports retailer, their employees want to work for them because of the purpose that they have. And they set it out very clearly in their culture. You know, if the surf's up, you can go and surf because they're all about work-life balance, giving back to the environment, sustainability, supporting causes. They encourage their employees to go and volunteer in community projects that are going to support the environment. So it's these types of examples where employees are feeling they are benefiting their greater purpose as well as that of the company is where the business is going to get the best out of those individuals. And I think when we talk about people, we're talking about human beings. So I think we talk a lot about work-life balance, but we're the same whether we're in work or whether we're in life, right? So what it should be is actually this is life. We have to work together and to do the best we can and to feel joy and inclusion all the time. So it's the business's job to be able to do that and to help their employee to feel that, I think. And I talk a lot about that in the book. If you do follow me on LinkedIn, I think we'll give you details at the end. I've also just written 10 critical factors to deliver an employee experience that will elevate your customer experience and grow your business. So that I spoke specifically on employee experience. I could talk about it forever.
That's amazing. It's like the two birds with one stone analogy where you improve the employees, you're going to make them happier. And in turn, it's going to create better customers and happier customers for you. Now, when it comes to customer experience and technology, we're almost halfway through 2024 here. AI has kind of taken over, and there's a bunch of different tools and technology out there that could either potentially help the customer experience or hurt it. Sometimes some people are resistant to that technology, whether it's a chat bot who's trying to give you answers or the robo voice on the phone, to get you in the right direction. What kind of balance should we be finding between technology and the customer experience? Because some people like it, some people don't. Do you have any insight into that?
Generative AI and technology should augment the customer experience and employee experience. It shouldn't take away jobs. It shouldn't replace people. What it should do is work alongside, and it's meant to make everyone's job easier and more efficient. So my view of AI, and I think this is backed up by quite a lot of webinars that I've seen and papers that I've read, says AI strategically should be owned by the CEO in a company. They should be saying, this is how we're going to use AI in our business. And it is to help and improve the employee experience and the customer experience. It should be owned by the CEO so that there is consistency of how AI is adopted across the business. You hear a lot about AI. I think Google did something and they got into a bit of trouble because AI did something it shouldn't have done. AI learns. And if AI hasn't got a framework of ethics and morals and guidelines and principles to work within, then it could learn from anywhere and learn in the wrong way. And that's what we don't want. So it needs really clear ethics and guidelines. I have read that employees that may have some of their role taken and replaced by AI because it's efficient and it's the right thing to do. It might be the boring task that they have to do every day is taken off their plate. What they can then do is become trainers of the AI, coaches of the AI, managers of the AI, because you've still got to keep training and keeping an eye on what the AI is doing and how it's learning. So I think long answer, but AI is there to help us. And I'm excited about the potential that AI has. But there are some watch outs, some warning. And particularly with customer experience, we need to remember that the older generation and also people who don't want to engage in digital options need to have the option to talk to a person. And I've had a nightmare with a certain social media platform with an issue that I've had, and I haven't been able to talk to a person and I can't get hold of a person. And there's nothing more annoying than having an issue, but you can't talk to someone to resolve it. So must always have people.
I agree completely. And it's funny because these social media companies never started with AI, but they made sure that they kept any contact phone numbers or forms or helpful information away from the public. So that way they couldn't be held accountable, which is terrible. I've had very similar experiences with you trying to get a Facebook page reactivated or it suddenly gets deleted. They tell me to follow this article, create a 2-page proof of ownership of this business. You sign it, you date it. They tell you to send it through this chatbot and it doesn't exist. And I asked the
Yeah.
chatbot, I don't know that answer. And it's like, I just need to talk to a human. Why can't I talk to a human? I need this answered. And it's so frustrating.
Mhm.
But I think it's an important learning lesson for us to be mindful of when we're trying to adopt tools and technology into our business and consider the customer experience as a whole. Now, you mentioned earlier your social media, the LinkedIn, the special offer or lead magnet you had available. Where can people find out more about that offer and get connected with you?
So if you follow my LinkedIn, so I think it's Clare White, CXAD is my handle. You can get hold of me. Please just drop me a note and I'd be very happy to share with you my thought leadership piece around employee and customer experience. You can also buy my book, which is available on Amazon. And you will find out everything you need to know around creating a framework to scale a business. But also, if you are a leader in a business that is stuck, so your revenue isn't really going anywhere, putting lots of effort into sales, lots of effort into marketing, which all costs money, but you're not getting what you expect in return, you can dip into this book because I think there's a number of principles that businesses that are stuck just need to revisit. Because I think sometimes, I don't know what you think, Chris, as an entrepreneur, it's not about pushing ahead. It's about taking a moment and reviewing what's going on and really thinking about it. Sometimes I think it's so easy just to keep moving and keep doing, but actually that's not necessarily the right thing to do.
Absolutely. If we lack the direction, if we don't know where we're going, all that work is going to feel like we're spinning our wheels. Likewise, there also has to be a time for learning and a time for doing. Some people get so caught up in that learning phase. They're like, one more book, one more article, one more course, and then I'll take action on it. You can learn a lot
Yeah.
while taking action, but find that balance between learning and doing. That's going to be so important. The book and the social links that Claire mentioned here, the book is called You've Got the Power: 6 Principles for Business Success, is helping business leaders here. And her company here is connectedcx.org.uk. So we'll have links available down in the show notes and description here. Make sure you get connected. Now, Claire, if there was one piece of advice that you could share with your younger self or any other entrepreneur out there that could dramatically change their business or their life for the better, what would that piece of advice be?
You know what? It's about believing in yourself. If you have a belief in something or you have a real desire to do something, do it. You know, we're not around for very long. It's a very short life, getting very philosophical, but it's a very short life. We're not here very long. We have, every person has a huge amount of potential, a lot of potential that is totally untapped. And if you really want to do something, my one piece of advice would be to do it. You might think, oh my gosh, well, I've got to pay the bills, I've got these responsibilities. You could always find a way if you really want to do it. So that would be my one piece of advice, because I think if I'd known that when I was much younger, then I think my career would have been slightly different. But I love the path that I've had. I wouldn't be the person I am without it. However, I would encourage you, if you believe, you can achieve.
I love it. The journey of entrepreneurship in life and business is ever evolving. It's incredible. So many twists and turns, but the more that we can push forward and have confidence in ourselves and take action, I think we're going to be surprised with the results that we get for ourselves and how it can impact others. Claire, thank you so much for joining us and sharing more about your journey, your tips and tricks for the customer experience, something that is often overlooked by many of these businesses, so we can help shape the business owner of the future. Claire, thanks so much for your time. We appreciate it. I hope you have a great rest of your week, and congratulations on entrepreneurship.
Lovely. Thanks, Chris.
Thank you.